Neat, neat, neat.
Wait, do I have water? Do I have water?
Do you have water? That's important.
Um,
Have to stay
yeah.
hydrated, Coop.
Well, otherwise, old man parched throat will like key in and then. Yeah, exactly.
Speak good.
I have to like drink like several times throughout the episode, even when I'm not talking.
Right.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So Keith, am I right? Keith McBrief. Oh boy.
The savior.
The savior, the myth, the man, the legend, the meme god.
How can you not be a fan?
I agree. My question is, who got the better trade in this Keith McBrief x Deathly trade?
That's a great question, because they're both kind of similar players where they've had their opportunity to shine and they haven't, with extended play time in starting positions. Although I think the development for Keith has come a long way, being on an organization that knows how to develop talent.
Yeah.
You look at his previous organizations, they're floundering around on the bottom because they can't develop talent or understand which pieces of the roster they need to play at any given time. So I think that this version of Keith will turn out to be better, and he's also had the opportunity to lead as a veteran. And whenever you do lead and you're teaching people or showing them the way, it makes you better at what you're doing already. So right. I think that it has to be the Guardians that got the better end of the deal.
Well, I don't know. I think it's kind of a net neutral thing because both of them are going to Academy, no?
True, but FBI is like he was good in Oceania, but that's Oceania, right? They have like 4 good players in their entire region, so it's hard. It's hard to really say that FBI is going to be their long-term solution. I think as soon as he has a couple scrims under his belt, he is going to be their guy come playoff time or playoff push.
Yeah,
that's what I'm expecting. So once he gets acclimated to the organization, however long that does take, which I would say less than 2 weeks, he's going to be in there and he's going to be popping off with his amazing acting skills and awesome CSing. So
yeah, for sure. I'm kind of worried about Deathly though. Like I know C9 is the development team. How much do you think C9 can pull something out of Deathly?
I think if they make him not play Draven, that would be a good start.
Yeah.
From what I hear, he likes to just pick it whenever it's available, but that's not how you get better at the game, right? Like he's already plateaued on that part of his game. He needs to get better at the other aspects. And I don't know if they're going to invest that much time in him to create that. I don't feel like that's a position of need for the organization. In the current, like even in the next 2 years, I don't feel like that's a position of need. I don't think Sneaky's slowing down. I don't think Father Time is creeping up on him. He still seems like he's clean when he's healthy. So I don't foresee them investing a lot of time into him. But maybe he will do it himself with the position coach, if they have one. I don't know. You're familiar with your organization more so than I.
Yeah, I don't think Academy gets the position coach, but they do scrim the main team a lot and all that good stuff. I have a thing to add about Sneaky is a lot of people think that his performance that split was terrible. Sneaky in lane all times 2. I think it's a drafting thing. I think they're drafting for the mid jungle duo and then having bot lane lose lane but scale into the game, which is working for them. There's been just an abnormal amount of backlash on Sneaky's performance, and I'm like, I feel like this is like a team thing, not like a Sneaky performance. What do you think?
I think AD carry, specifically in the current meta, if you're not getting drafted around, you're going to be invisible most of the game.
Exactly.
This is a solo lane driven meta. Now, that doesn't mean that the jungler can't bot, get you fed, you pop off, you look amazing.
Double
I mean,
lift.
that happens. That literally happens in like 40% of TL games and then a smattering of other games throughout the league. But if that's not what your team is drafting towards, you're going to look a bit lackluster. You know, like who's going to pop off on, you know, like these really crappy picks, you know? Like if you're just sitting there to wave clear and hit 3 items and then crit the entire enemy team down, then that's your job. So you need to base his performance off of what the champion can reasonably output at all stages of the game. So if you're not looking at it through that lens, you're not doing the player justice or the champion pick justice. So too many people just be like, well, let's look at his KDA. Okay, well, it's not good, or he's just going even. Or let's look at his CS. Oh, he's down by 20 CS. But they don't even consider the lane matchup or the jungle proximity for him, for his jungler and the enemy jungler, you know? So like you have to really examine the win conditions and how the drafts were set up before you can just hard smash people for not playing to what you think their level is.
I think in regards to the bot lane, C9 could go God mode if they put Sneaky on utility champions again. Because remember in Season 4, there was the utility ADC meta, and Sneaky was
Ashe and Jhin.
10 out of 10 with Jhin, Ashe, and stun body ADCs. I feel like since they're not drafting towards the bot lane and they want scaling, you may as well just pop in the Jhin with the double IE or the Ashe with all the health stuff and crit. I feel like that would do them so much more than the picks that they're putting Sneaky Basil on. I mean, it's working. They are winning. They're second best team or whatever. But I just feel like they could go even further beyond if they just gave Sneaky Jhin and said, you stand over there and shoot people while we fight.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what they do, you know, as an AD in general. You just stand and shoot people and then you move if somebody gets too close. So, I mean, that's kind of the entire role. But I don't think that with the proclivity of playmaking champions that are currently in the meta, especially in the solo lanes, that we're going to see much Jhin. Because you're not going to see much Janna. You're not going to see much Nami. You're not going to see a bunch of disengaged supports. Like, you may see a Gragas, but you're mostly going to be seeing defensive supports that have the ability to face check vision, because warding is over prioritized by, I would say, the majority of pro teams. Like, they're so risk averse that they won't play these other champions because they're like, well, what if we're behind in the mid game? Now it's more difficult to ward. How about you don't fuck up the early game then?
Right. I think it is a little too late to experiment with this stuff, especially with playoffs.
Yeah, you have to kind of stick with what you're doing at this point.
But I think because they're on the Enchanter patch, aren't they?
Yes, with nerfs to enchanters. Some enchanters are nerfed.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, then maybe Jhin isn't the best. But when it was strong, they could have. They could have just busted out Jhin Karma, and that would have been that. Because I feel like that could punish Tonus Eric real hard.
I don't think Sonatek is the only one. Jatt said something on the cast the other day. Jatt is actually somebody I really respect. You know, all memes aside.
Yeah.
I think he knows what's going on in the game more so than most people. And he made mention of this comment that Sona's not the only high econ champion that could thrive in the bot lane. And my instant gut reaction was, why don't they put GP down there? GP Tarek.
I've done that as a troll. GP.
Right, but he is the high econ champion, right?
Yeah.
He is the guy.
Put Klepto on him, farm both of them,
Yeah, and he's safe. He's got oranges, he BK.
Put Impact in the bot lane, have double if go Vayne top. Worlds, baby!
Why not? Why not?
Worlds!
Like, I think that if you really want to make some noise, you're gonna have to be doing stuff like this because if a game designer is leaking that kind of information, it's because he knows it's out there and people just don't know about it yet. And that's the thing. It's like that's why Griffin was so dominant, is because they were so far ahead of everything, right? They were running the Jarvan, they were doing all this kind of crazy concoctions of champions to extenuate their strengths. So that's what you need to do, right? If Sneaky's your late game carry, give him a late game carry. Right. That it just smashes people. Like these GP barrels will crit for like 1200 damage.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine Impact Core JJ bot lane? That would be so good. So good.
I mean, let's just bring back the trophy now. We don't need to play.
Right.
NA's best region.
Best region. Speaking of trophies, did you know they're making a pro TFT scene?
I did. I seen that.
How in the friggity frack is that gonna work?
I would say the same way things work in sports like golf and NASCAR, circuit points. So you go into you get like weighted points based upon your placement, right? So people can't win every single race. Right, you can't win every single golf tournament, but your placement gives you a certain amount of points, and at the end, there's like a race at the end. So the PGA, I think it's 4 tournaments at the end, and NASCAR, I think it's 10 races, but you qualify throughout the beginning, and then it's like the race for the cup or
Gotcha.
Et cetera, et cetera. So I would assume that it would have to be circuit points because I can't think of anything else. But that doesn't mean that there's not another mechanism out there. But one already exists in sports. So I think that they should just grab that and plug it because I think it's the best.
And do you think it's going to be the same teams we have in the LCS? Or do you think there will be new organizations entering League of Legends through TFT?
That presents a unique
because I figure League of Legends doesn't want their second game to be the same organizations. I figure they would want to bring in more franchising, more brands, because they're lacking a lot of the teams that appear in Hearthstone, stuff like that they could easily say, hey, look at our game. You spend $1 billion here. You know?
I feel like because this particular second game is embedded in the first, that is for me the primary problem, because it's not actually its own standalone game. And because of that, I think there might be some like legal snafu where they have to use the 10 teams they have right now. But I would like to see fresh brands coming in, you know, like get FaZe Clan in here. Who cares? Right. Whatever. Whoever wants to get in, you know, bring back IMT.
I don't think.
Let's do that, you know. So there's all kinds of organizations that are out there that might be interested in this particular genre.
Right.
So I think they should have the opportunity. I just don't think that they will be able to.
I don't think the stipulation of that it is Legends applies. You look at Twitch and it's its own category under League of Legends.
Sure.
Fight Tactics, it's its own brand, and it also has its own mechanics. It's not the same as Legends. Obviously, Fiora does way more damage in League of Legends. You know.
What are you talking about? She's the pool party skin in TFT. She just hits people with wet noodles.
Yeah, apparently. First of all, that wet noodle does true damage, so.
Oh, yeah.
Wet true damage.
True damage.
Right. Yeah, so I just think it's gonna. I think they can bring in new. I don't think there's any stipulation. Because I don't think that esport counts as League of Legends. I think it's its own.
It's the same IP. That's the problem. I think that it could present. I don't actually know, right? I'm not like a legal counsel, but I can see that that might be an issue. So let's say they try to get in 10 new orgs. Well, now the 10 endemic orgs are going to be like, why aren't we being represented? We've purchased basically stock in League of Legends, and this is a League of Legends game. It contains all the IP from League of Legends. So that would be the part where I would assume that organizations might bump and collide over that. That's why I think it could be a hurdle. It may not be. Maybe it just gets like swept under the rug and everybody's all hunky-dory. But very rarely when money is involved is that the case.
Sure. I think there will be some overlap where like 100 Thieves, Cloud9, TL, they'll want to be in there, but I don't see like Optic or Clutch Gaming. I just don't see it. As well, is it just going to be...
They don't even want to be in the league anymore, so there's that.
Right.
I'm going to have to agree with that statement.
Alright, Dignitas, whatever. I'm not going to call them Dig until they're Dig, but... Yeah.
Fair.
The blah 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 brain farts. Healthy for your skin. Are there gonna be just 8 teams? Or is there gonna be like 16 teams? It has to be divisible.
I don't think it has to be.
No?
No. Because there are bye weeks and other things in sports that give you time off. And like where you don't play a game or like just like you're not scheduled to play that particular day. So I don't think it needs to necessarily be divisible by 8. I think it can be divisible by 4. So like I think it could be 12 teams. I think it could be, 20 teams. Whatever the case is. But or maybe you have multiple representatives from the same team. Maybe you're fielding 2 people instead of just 1. And then whoever has the most circuit points at the end is your representative. You can't have more than 1. Whatever they can create, whatever competitive rules they want. But I think that there may be more representatives than just 8. So that way, just as like where we had the battle arena and the main stage, that one split, so that they could have multiple streams going. Because people are going to want to watch their favorite players, right? And maybe he didn't get a chance to play that day, but he's on the other stream or whatever the case. Right. There's so many different ways they can take it. I think that making sure it's not solely divisible by 8 and just having it be around that number is fine. I would obviously don't bring in any odd numbers, then you're just creating some unnecessary issues. But I think having, like I said, like an offset of 4 is perfectly fine. And it might make the league easier to watch.
Do you think that TFT is going to last? Because I honestly don't think the game is going to have a very long lifespan. It'll be a fun... Yeah, it'll become an ARAM, I think.
I think that this game has the potential to last at least 2 to 4 years. And the reason I say that is we only have like just over a third of the champions in the game, and they plan on releasing them slowly, right? So that's going to constantly change the meta, constantly change strategies, and whenever anything is fresh, it grabs more eyes. So I think that will attribute to its longevity, and since League will constantly be pushing new champions as well, in theory, it could go on indefinitely, but of course it's also the flavor of the week. So how long do people really want to be playing these auto battlers? Right. And I feel like a big draw of the game is the social aspect. So unless the casters are really good or there's a lot of like banter between the players as they're playing, it definitely has a definite shelf life. I'd say about 2 to 4 years.
I just don't see it being super big as an sport, because I feel like a lot of mechanical skill, like the wow factor and watching Faker 1v4 a team, it's so awe-inspiring, and when you play the game, you're like, damn, I can't do that. That is insane. And then you look at TFT and you're like, okay, that guy got his card, right?
Yeah.
That was neat. There's no...
Unless they're pulling off like combos that have never been seen before.
Right, unless they're so fast at selling and buying that they create a spectacle of it. That would be kind of cool, but even that will wear off because it's a one-trick pony. You know, there's only so many things you can do inside that game, and then in League of Legends, you can do anything in the realm of mechanics and physics. You know, there's stuff in League of Legends where if you get like 3 knockups at once, the champion goes to the fucking moon.
Right.
It's like
disappears off the screen.
Right, and it's stuff like that that I feel like pulls in people when they see, because it's something they don't get to see in their games that they play, and they say, "Wow, that's pro play. That's something I'll never be able to achieve." Blah blah blah. And TFT doesn't have that same appeal because you can get first in TFT pretty easily. I feel like, you know, whereas like the tournaments and stuff for League of Legends is way more skill based. I feel like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to watch TFT. I've watched Disguised Toast and Scara play it, and I can only watch it for like a minute. Yeah.
Well, part of the problem is a match is eternity. So you're looking at like a 40-minute match. You're asking somebody to sit down, and most of that is just dead time while they're waiting for the round to start. So there's a lot of inactivity.
Right.
So if they were able to reduce the inactivity, I think it would be more appealing. But at the end of the day, that's the genre, right? It's the same thing like in baseball. A big thing in baseball right now is the length of the game. You know, with the pitchers in the stance, and then the batters stepping outside the box, you know, all these kinds of things. You know, the general manager calling out to get the reliever, and the reliever doing warm-up pitches, and all these kinds of things that just elongate the game. You know, that's one of the big problems with baseball. So you have a similar problem here where there's a lot of dead time, a lot of inactivity, right? People want to watch your comp and your positions and see it, you know, pop off big damage numbers, but at the end of the day, it's not as active as a game where you're actually providing input every second. This is an auto battler genre. Yeah. So maybe it's got a lot less of a shelf like you're mentioning, but a lot of people watch really boring stuff all the time. Well, and it's subjective. So I can't sit there and watch a tennis match because I get bored. Right. But people go to Wimbledon and fill the stadiums. So there's going to be somebody out there. Will they capture enough of an audience to maintain?
Oh yeah, but in Wimbledon, the lady served the ball into the back of her duo partner's head, and that is 10 out of 10. I can't do that in TFT.
I don't know if you want to do that in TFT.
Sure I do. The TF that you have in your little roster, you just accidentally punch him and he dies. Instantly more appealing, right? Right. Anyways. I believe I mentioned Faker in the past 5 minutes. Do you think Korea is going to mount a comeback?
Yes, but I don't think it's going to be through the usual suspects.
Really?
I like Damwon right now. I like Damwon Gaming. I think they are the up-and-comers. I think they are going to hard smash through the playoffs. I think they've learned enough that they can beat the veterans, the wily veterans. Normally, the wily veterans win the best of 5. But I think that Damwon not only has the mechanical aptitude, but they've shown macro intelligence and making the right plays and forcing the enemy to make the wrong plays. And that's stuff that you only really see from veteran teams. And the 3 young teams that people keep talking about is Damwon, Sandbox, Griffin. Well, Griffin's fallen off a cliff, but Sandbox and Damwon are still putting in really solid showings.
Do you think they'll beat G2 though?
I think that Damwon can match up against G2.
Wow, that's a statement.
I think they're, especially in the solo lane.
Who on Damwon do you think, where do they win through?
I think Noguri is probably better. I think that the 7 wonders are a legitimate threat, but after he shows those wonders, I think Noguri will have a plan. But I think that only works 1 or 2 games. It's basically if they go to a best of 5, you may get Noguri in game 1 and game 4, but then he comes back in game 5. He's just equivalence. I think there's a lot of equivalence in the skills, so it really comes to how you're playing on the day amongst teams on this echelon. I still think G2 is the best team, but they have some low lows.
Well, that's because of Craps, right? They swap in the sub named Craps.
Yes, but sometimes, I mean, Yankos is having the split of his career, but sometimes he has really bad games too. So in the 2 most pivotal roles in the game, you have guys with high volatility. So I think that leads to victories for Korean. And these guys aren't playing SKT style. They're aggressive.
I wanted SKT to be more, to be not. I don't want another era of SKT winning every Worlds every year, but
you want them in the mix.
I want them in the mix. I want the narrative of Faker returns to godhood. I want the narrative of Teddy is just so freaking good on Ezreal. I don't understand why he doesn't play that champion every game. Whatever. I want these because they're so good, but it's just not their meta,
Right.
It's a goddamn shame because I feel like if Faker had if Faker had Bangi and Bangi peak, then I feel like they'd contest. Because
I don't think Cuz is the problem.
Really?
Yeah, I think Khan's the problem.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But as far as getting Faker ahead, somebody who's willing to level 3 turret dive, somebody who's willing
too much risk for SKT, buddy. Too much.
No.
Kingzone will do that all day, every day, and that's why they're a better team.
When Faker and Bangi were in their prime, Bangi would dive level 3 under turret with Elise or something.
Yeah, with solely Elise.
It was cool.
Or a Zac passive or something like that.
That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I want to see Faker on Rise and get him super fed so he can 1v5. But you know what I'm saying. I want Faker to return to form.
Hey, I'm here.
The threat to mid laners. That's what I want. Because I feel like Jensen and Caps are really good and they're playing out of their minds right now, And I just want Faker return to form to Western Awakening. You're not as good as you thought you were, kid. Sit down. That's what I want. But what do you think about the LPL?
I mean, they're pretty good, but some of them are you're never gonna have sustained success with, especially a team like FunPlus Phoenix. They're really, really good at what they do, and it's chaos through mid lane with Doingby coming out with this crazy counter pick that he always has prepared. I'm just gonna play, crit Soraka. Obviously he hasn't played that, but I wouldn't put it past him at this point to pull out something insane that just makes literal no sense to the large majority of the player base, and then LS and a couple other analysts are I've seen him play this a couple times. Here's what you're gonna, here's what you're gonna expect to see. And so him and TN are their win condition. If you can shut that down, you beat FunPlus Phoenix, and it was demonstrated last year in the spring playoffs. They shut down those two, and the cookie crumbled. And that's exactly what you're gonna get with that team. With Invictus, Rookie's back now. I still don't know if it's enough. They're a really, really good team, and they're good at what they do, but some of the picks that they've been using to establish dominance keep getting gutted, and I just don't know how many more of those they have.
Yeah, I feel like IG needs to go back to what they started with when they won Worlds, and cut out the, hey, let's all die together. And then they're good. They're so goddamn good. If they just say, we can't get to him in time.
I think RNG is the team to watch out of the LPL.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Uzi still in RNG? I haven't been watching.
Yep. Uzi's still in RNG.
My boy.
But Xiaohu is looking 2 years ago, Xiaohu, when he was the carry. and they are looking great in every role, which is kind of their thing. But like, it looks like anybody can carry at any given time, and I think people just forget Karsa is a world-class jungler. Like, people just forget until he shows up at a tournament, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy's really good." Oh, who knew? But when you're surrounded by like all these great players, like he is, it's kind of like what you have with G2, but to a lesser extent, that any player can carry at any given time, and that's just really scary when your players are Uzi and Yahoo and Karsa. That's a pretty potent three-tipped spear. So I think that they're going to be the team that comes out and wins the title.
Really?
I think IG goes in as second, and then pick your poison as far as third. Maybe FPX gets in there and runs the gauntlet, but Toynbee's been trying to run the gauntlet for years, and it's failed every single time and cried.
Are you happy that North America doesn't have to do the World Gauntlet?
No.
That's pretty good. What do you mean?
No,
C9
I
is
think it's actually
always
bad.
C9 is always run the gauntlet, and they've got.
And they always come out of it better.
Yeah. Well, sure, because they get to adapt to the meta, I guess. But I for once, I would like to see them not have to struggle bus to get where they're going, because I feel like a lot of the time, with North American pressure, it can get a build up, and so without that build up in the gauntlet, I feel like we can maybe get farther with our team, but we'll see.
I just think it means that the Americans play less game. I think that's like the long and short of it. If they're not in the gauntlet, they're playing less games. Because especially for the team that's coming in third, they're going to need that time, because you're going to expect it largely to be TSM, right? That's the team that most people are going to peg as the third best American team. And those kids are young, and they need the international talent.
TSM can go straight to. Put CLG in. They're
I like
good.
CLG, but I don't know how long this lasts.
It's hopefully gonna last longer than TSM's career.
Yeah, but TSM always comes back at the end. That's kind of their thing. They always come back at the end. Look, this isn't my final form. Ha 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 ha.
They have Sven missing home.
But yeah, there's a couple players that I think could potentially swing in there and run the gauntlet. I think Optic could run the gauntlet, and I think Golden Guardians can run the gauntlet. I think CLG can run the gauntlet. So there's a couple teams that are like third place quality teams that might make it in. But all those teams are gonna need those matches, and they're not gonna get them. And that's the part that kind of worries me, is it's going to be a wasted tournament for them, because even if they're playing against the number 1 and number 2 teams from these regions, those teams are really fucking good, and they're going to be better than almost anything they can get in NA, except if TL wants to try hard.
Yep.
So
which they're not anymore.
No,
they've
and
confirmed
that's my
it.
problem. That's my problem with it. Is like they're just not going to get those reps. Yeah, they'll get scrims, but even then, what do scrims really tell you? I mean, TSM perfect 1 year and still got smashed. So
right. My favorite thing is Doublelift going on record to say, yeah, we're not gonna try because we have our our spot locked in. I love that.
That way, the narrative's not like, oh, are they slipping? Are they slipping? It's
because
why bother?
I feel like for the top team, always been that narrative of, oh, you have to play your hardest every given day, and it's like draining, I guess, to the players, because why play so hard against players you're not going to learn anything from?
I think it should be contractually obligated. Otherwise, you get to the point where your league becomes complacent and unwatchable. So for the competitive viability of the league, they should have to attempt to win the game as quickly as possible every single time in the current meta, right? That's the meta, is like win the game as quick as you can, try to minimize your mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but try to minimize them. So if they're not doing that, then for one, the region's not fun to watch. 2, the region's not getting better, and 3, no one likes tanking. Like, tanking is like the taboo word in sports right now.
Right.
Nobody wants to see anybody tank. So
I agree with you. I just feel like burnout is a really real thing in esports. I mean, you think about how often you guys play, it's more than pro football players. Because I feel like football players are literally pinnacle athleticism, but these esport players are literally doing 12 hours every day. And
right. Most NFL practices only last about 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, and then they go through like meetings and strength and conditioning. So it's not like they're sitting there to the grindstone 12 hours straight. And they may have a 12-hour day, but it's vastly different in the taxing of the mind and the body. So
and I just feel like cutting some slack to our champions of North America, I feel like there's a trade-off that we have to give them, because if not, they just burn out before the competition even starts.
But then I think they need to work on their quality versus quantity thing, because if they just come out and say that they're not trying because the competition's not worth it, for one, while being hilarious and mostly true, it's supremely disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it's rather unprofessional.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Coming from your star player. So it's not to say that I don't support what he's saying or think that it's probably the right decision for the team and for his team's well-being. It just sucks that that's the position we're in. And if you're going to do something that disrespectful, start your full academy team. Get them the stage time. Like, I'm tired. Like, don't even come on stage. If that's going to be your stance, don't show up on the day, because I don't want to see you play like that. If you're not going to like play as a professional and want to compete and want to win and, show your best for your fans, then I'd rather see your academy players so that they can get the experience of playing against the pros, like the legit pros, the guys that are there, the guys that have made it, because that takes time. You have to be in that situation with them in a competitive game. That matters, for placement or whatever the case may be, but you have to be put in that environment before. That scrim is not going to mirror that. You have to be on stage with that. So
I have a couple things to add.
That's their stance. I want to see the academy team.
Yeah, and then we'll wrap up because we are over time. I think they should play their academy team. I think Doubleth was kind of memeing. It was a truth, but he was being interviewed by Travis Gafford. Extra spicy for Travis because they're friends, and I don't think you should take it so seriously about what he says, because
especially in that particular forum.
Right.
I wasn't aware that he said it in that interview. Otherwise, I probably would have taken such a hard-nosed stance on it.
He said it with Travis Gafford, and Travis bait that all the time.
Well, yeah, he's looking for a headline.
Oh, of course.
And Doublelift always obliges.
That was the headline. So, other than that,
at the same token, he means what he says.
Oh yeah, like I said, it is true, but he's going extra hard for the Travis. Mm-hmm. But the most important league topic to close this out, they have a Beemo plushie, and I want it.
Their merch has been pretty sick of late, I must say. Like, I've considered buying things where 2 years ago I was like, I'm not fucking interested in this. But they've come a long way.
Yeah.
But you're really going to... You don't want to touch the Echo Fox pole at all? You don't want to venture into those waters?
We'll save it for next week.
Okay. Well...
a little teaser.
All right. Well... Next week, confirmed, Rick Fox on the show. No, JK.
Oh, dude, I would love talking to Rick Fox. That would be such an honor. Holy fuck.
He's kind of like the esport godfather.
Yeah, he's the esport dad, for sure. He's my dad, and he's not my dad. Anyway, have a good night. Time codes will be provided in the description for both Third Rate Therapy and Third Rate League Talk. That was a mouthful. Links also to social media accounts.
I don't do that, so you won't find me.
You'll only find me. Coop wants to be a ninja. So be it.
I don't social media.
Yeah, you don't. I know. You don't.
Back in my day.
Right. So you can find my social medias in the description. Find the time codes. You can find other platforms to listen to the podcast. Currently, we don't make any money, so it doesn't really matter which platform you pick. I'm not going to recommend one. Right. It's just it's there for you to listen to. That's been our league talk. Do you have any closing statements, Coop?
Sleeper Team 2019, my boys 100T. Put in your energy and let them make a playoff push.
All right.
That's it.
Everybody do the spirit bomb and goodbye.